All right, Lily has one of the worlds. I have three worlds. We're recreating something that didn't work earlier, but here we go. I've got the virtual world in my hands, and I've got the real world in my hands. So there's actually three worlds now. Lily also has the inner world. So what I want to show today is that there's a huge importance on being able to see the inner world, but it's hard to see. So I'm going to close my eyes and show you that we can juggle these three worlds. Okay, so Lily, on cue, when I close my eyes, you toss me that ball and I'll start juggling it. Ready? Go. That totally didn't work, so we're going to try this again. This time I need to be able to see the inner world. Okay, now I'll give it a toss, Lily. There we go. Much better. So much better when you can see. What everybody missed there who's watching on the recording, you had to be here live because you totally missed the juggling act. So the deal here is we really do need to see. We'll drop balls if we don't see the real world, the virtual world, and the inner world. And the idea behind SOS is helping you to see the inner world. And I'm going to switch over here to the keynote. Okay. I'm going to start showing this keynote. All right, so everybody let me know that we've got my bio up here. So this is my wife and I on the right, and then on the left-hand side we've got the whole family. All right, here we go again. All right, so with the bio here, the team coach, this is the thing I've come up with the family coaching I do. So I work with parents of teenagers outside of the school, and that is the team. The School Counselor Squad is what you guys are all a part of. So we've got a great community started here. Social Innovator. I've created SOS. Spin-off of that is going to be ATC. I'll cover ATC at the end of our talk today, so stick around till the end for that. That's what we're going to be talking about in the next slideshow. Getting paid to land and live the dream. That's another one that I'll probably be sharing in the future. That's another one of the innovative things that I've been using quite a bit in the school. And next year we're going to be working on Heart Smart, Habits, Goals, and Dreams at my school. So those are some of the things that I'm working on. And you guys here on a Sunday, it's amazing. You're awesome for being here. So thank you for being dedicated and being caring professionals and pioneers when it comes to being a social innovator and a supporter of social innovation. So you guys are like my accountability team. So there's we'll cover the lean startup idea in a minute, but social innovation is something that I'm really excited about. And then you guys are the first cohort, so I definitely want to treat you to more complimentary trainings in the future. So I appreciate you all being here as part of this adventure. All right, so today we're going to be reviewing SOS. We're going to be doing the left side, the SOS plan on the chart. We're going to give you a little bit more context and some case studies. And we're going to bring Lily back in for that again, and we're going to have some with you as well. We're going to do some talk about the testing of SOS over the next school year. And we'll cover in session 2, we'll be doing ATC and the snitch switch, is what I call it. Session 3, we've got the implementation, and then we're going to have bonus chart chats and beta testing in the future. All right. So what I started off with was this flipped Likert scale. All right, so with this chart, we got the green zone, the yellow zone, and the red zone. So most of you are familiar with this. It's kind of like the traffic light. Like Dr. Clay gave me that idea to, refer it back to the traffic light, which I've done before. Looking at the green light, yellow light, and red light system. And in a very similar way, the reason why this broke down with the Likert scale, we'll go back to that really quick, is that the numbers meant something different to every kid. So the green level basically is where you end with being able to cover your own stress without extra help from outside. So the numbers were anywhere from a 0.5 all the way to 7, where kids were finishing up with being able to handle things on their own. So if 0.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 could mean the same thing, I really had to switch to a different way to indicate that we're getting beyond that healthy stress level that you can handle on your own with your own coping strategies. So that's where I came in with the coloring on the system. And we have the green zone, yellow zone, and red zone. And the assess your stress, again, is where you're basically seeing the stress level. So we got 3 different levels, and the healthy stress things are going fine. So you got the lady with the emoji, that looks good. And at the middle level, we've got the pre-crisis level. So we're in the caution stage, and at the very top, we're at that crisis level. Okay, we'll come back to SOS with Lily. All right, so now we're back under the effects of stress. And we have the effects. So when the effects of stress kick in, that's where I bring in the fuel gauge. So when you have stress, it affects your energy level. So energy goes down as the stress goes up. Again, this is review, and we're going to keep moving here. All right. So when we address our stress, the green level is where you get your source of self-esteem and confidence. The yellow level is where kids are typically turning to family and friends. And then finally, the red level is where you're looking for a counselor or potentially a therapist if something more than a school counselor is needed. All right, and on decompress your stress, the only thing that switches here is that we go from friends and family in the middle over to the expert help in the middle. So the idea is we can be proactively training our kids with their coping strategies. So if they don't have the ability to, let's say, get organized at school and their stress and schoolwork's getting to them because there's just too much schoolwork, then we're going to help them with some strategies around getting organized. If they don't know how to calm down before a test, we maybe can give them some pre-test taking breathing strategies. So this is where we can kind of kick in to help them decompress their stress proactively so that they're not just letting their stress go into that red level without any assistance. All right, the reassess your stress. We went through this example and the presentations I've done, and we, the big key here with SOS is to show that visual difference. And the other example that I gave, I had a student who was higher stress 3 times in a row, and that's when I used the chart. So the first couple times we didn't use the chart at all, and on the 3rd time around we pulled the chart in and again got that visual difference. So this is the real key when it comes to using this chart. This is where the magic kicks in. Throughout my career, and I think all mental health professionals are really looking for something that gives that tangible sense of making a difference with the students that come across us or come to our offices and come to see us. So let's go to the next one. All right, I want to talk now about another Chance. So Chance is the name of one of the students that we lost to suicide. So he took his life, along with a couple others at our school at the same time within a 2-week span. And this second chance that we all get here is, it really comes from, even when SOS isn't working. So when I came up with this example with a student, there was a 9th grader that I just shared. Okay, here's 3 smiley faces, and we have no outward signs, and what do we do? And what he told me is that you can just guess. Like every once in a while, you can just ask somebody how they're really doing, and this could be code word, and really this could be, another chance for anybody in any school in the country. If we develop this system for kind of going beyond when we don't even have a visual cue of what to do, and how to spot the stress and see what those signs are, then you got this opportunity to have this code word, which really means you can let your guard down, we can connect. All right, so the SOS plan is now the left side of the chart. So right here we come to, in this scenario, on the left-hand side of the chart, I've blown it up. So this screen is a blown up part of the left-hand side of the chart where it's addressing who you'll turn to. So the expert help would be your school counselor, the family, friends, and so on is also another place where kids are looking when they're in that caution level stress, and then finally self-care is the green level. So we want kids to come up with their examples of who they're going to turn to at these different levels. So a therapist or a school counselor is at the top. If there's somebody who's not a therapist or school counselor, they're going to really need to be trained to refer out too. So like a life coach or something like that is really going to need to know that this type of like crisis level is really the job of maybe a psych eval or maybe a therapist that can help at that level. Okay. And then we have kind of same thing broken into 4 sections. So I broke out the expert help here a little bit more clearly in this chart here. And I'll be sending a copy of this chart through the email that you guys are a subscriber with. All right, so then this crisis stage, pre-crisis stage, and healthy stress again. On this chart is about what are the signs that you show. So this is SOS again. So signs of stress. You're looking for what does an individual student look like when they're at that healthy stress level and things are working well, they're feeling relaxed, they're alert. So on this piece of the chart, we really want to identify ahead of time. So oftentimes we'll create a plan. So this SOS plan is about creating a plan proactively. And this is where I talked to Dr. Clay quite a bit about this individual emotional plan. So the IEP is typically the individual educational plan. But the SOS plan, this figuring out what your signs of stress are, who your sources of support are, and then what your sources of stress are, helps you create this plan proactively in advance. So with each student, I think what I've been doing is just asking them what are the signs that they show. How can somebody tell your stress is rising? What are the kind of things that somebody could see literally with their eyes that you display? All right. So that's all 3 levels. And then this next one, and these are actually hidden screens. So we got the signs, and this middle one is who you turn to at the various levels. And then the third one is what are your sources of stress? What are those triggers? So having kids list out what their triggers are that raises up their stress is also important. All right, so all 3 levels fills out like 9 little sections of the chart. So we're going to go through some case studies here. And I'm going to actually skip down to one that has the left-hand side of the chart filled out. All right, so this is just kind of a funny example. I was watching the Michigan State game, and what we've got going on here is SOS for a University of Michigan fan. So I grew up in the Michigan area, and so I've got all 9 of the sections filled out here on the left-hand side. So we've got under signs of stress, we go from the game's not over, so you got a little bit of stress and you get to keep watching the game, that's fun. And then as MSU keeps hanging close, you're kind of biting your nails, that's another sign of stress. And then suddenly your jaw's on the floor at the end of the game, and I'll talk about the ending of the game here in a second. But you've got U of M kind of in the lead the whole game, but MSU hanging around, and then they gave the ball away at the very end. And your resources to deal with stress, you got some chips and salsa. Other University of Michigan fans will kind of rally with you and kind of be your supports as things are tight. And then finally it was time for a therapist for me. So first, second, third, and fourth quarter, it was all like kind of slowly rising stress. But Michigan actually handed the ball and tossed it to a Michigan State player at the very, very end of the game with like no seconds left on the clock, and all of a sudden the stress went off the charts, and I had to go see a therapist. I'm kind of just kidding on that one. I didn't really need to see a therapist over the Michigan State game, but this is kind of an example of how you can fill out each of those 9 sections with any kid, and obviously get real, especially on these red levels, and have that SOS plan on this left-hand side where you've got your signs of stress, sources of stress. And I used to call this resources until I came up with another SOS for it, which is your sources of support. So all 3 of those on the SOS plan on the left-hand side here are SOSs now as well. All right, so I want to come into a couple case studies. We have, there was a time when I actually was looking at the parent and team dynamic, and I had this sneaking suspicion that the student was button pushing. So I asked the parent first, where are you at with your stress level? And the parent was like, yeah, I'm up there near the red level. I'm in that pre-crisis level. And I wanted to kind of paint this picture for both the teenager and the mom of what was going on with the parent and teen dynamic. So this is before I even had the chart printed. So these are some old examples where I would just draw this up on the board and just literally use my whiteboard. So the P is circled at the top up near the stress, up at that high level of maybe pre-crisis stress. And that's where the parent placed herself. And then I said, well, where do you think your son is? And she said, well, right up there with me. We're fighting, we're clashing, we're arguing with each other all the time. And then I said, okay, so what are you arguing about a lot? And it was the dishes. I can't get him to do the dishes. I'm always like getting in a fight with him over doing the dishes and so on. And the student says, well, I asked the student at that point, like, where are you? So tell me what level of stress you're at. And the student said, well, I'm in the green. I'm just like not doing dishes. I'm fine with the yelling. I'm fine with the arguing as long as I'm not doing the dishes. So the young person, plotted themselves there, and I said, well, the gig is up. Now we know where your stress level's really at, and so does mom. So that button pushing probably not going to be as effective anymore. Right, so here's another one. So this is the real example actually of one of those students who had the rising stress. So this was the chart again before I had one printed up. I just drew it on my whiteboard again, explained the levels, like, hey, in the green, this is kind of like a green light where you go. At the green level, it really defines that self-care level. At the yellow level, you could come and talk to Mr. Dreyer because that's what he did, but you might also go talk to a friend or family member. And then finally the red with you must go see somebody for some pro help. All right, so in this case, there was an imbalance. So I actually drew up a chart of where the school and personal balance was, and the school had gotten to be way too small of a balance, and we're trying to move from that example on the left with just a little tiny focus on school over to the balance on the right where we can have a lot more focus on school. And this young person just needed something concrete. So it was figuring out what those two assignments were that he needed that turned things around and made that next mark a little bit lower before he left the office. So that was really cool to see that the first couple times I didn't use the chart. Next time around we did plot it out, and we really discovered that something super concrete, just moving in that direction. Like I had him choose, do you want to leave it so that you're just overwhelmed with personal stuff, or do you want to move over to this right side picture where you've got a better balance going on between personal and school? And he said, well, I want to move closer to that balance of personal and school. And then it really came down to, okay, let's figure out how. And what we discovered is there were a couple assignments that he needed to focus in on and get done. All right, so I'm going to go to one more example here. And this is a student where I came up with this is the poker Facebook. So you have a poker face in life. And I figured out that this kid needed to have a poker Facebook. So she needed to kind of have this don't care, she had to have a don't care solution for Facebook, where she wasn't just getting on there and just chatting away every time somebody said something, and was throwing her up into the high level, up into the yellow. And she came into my office because she had actually gotten up into the red, and we charted it out that she moved from yellow, and she said it was like a stair step. She wasn't straight up. So I drew kind of a stair step on this picture. It's kind of hard to see, but she stair stepped her way by continuing to get stuck in the drama. So they kept sucking her in, and she kept playing around on Facebook with them. And so it wasn't in-person bullying. So we looked at, was it offline, was it online that people were messing with her? And it was online directly to her, and it was through Facebook. And so I kind of just followed through a little mind map here, plotted that out, and it wasn't like she was going to quit Facebook either. She was going to stay on it, but what we decided is she's got to not post every single time something comes up with other kids. So that's an example where, in that moment we created a don't care solution. You got to show people you don't care and kind of have a poker face for Facebook or social media. Okay, this one's kind of like, this one stretches into that beautiful mind thing where there's like way too much going on here. But the only thing to really pull out here is this kid was missing class and his friend was not safe. His friend up here in the red zone and was trying to be a best friend, and I just had to really coach him that if you really want to be your friend's best friend, you got to make sure they're here. So if you are not trained to help somebody who's feeling suicidal, that's when you absolutely must come to tell somebody and not try to talk them down, not try to do that counseling. So it was like, you're here, you're getting yourself into trouble, and the help that's needed is not this yellow level help. This is time for professional help, time to get a school counselor involved or call 911. This is not safe to be trying to talk your friend down from suicide. All right, well, I'm going to grab a pen here. I want to make sure I'm writing on this okay. Okay, so I've got a pen right now, and I am going to say, like, this is a possible scenario. We might spike up occasionally, but generally, if nothing's big's going on, we maybe want to stay in this area here. So let's talk about how this might be possible. So if our goal was to mainly stay in the green, so that, my concept around this is we have the greening of the environment or a green outer world that we want. With these three worlds that I juggled earlier, we want to keep a green inner world as well. So we don't want people flying up into the red zone and shooting up people in Orlando or New Orleans or taking their own lives. We want to keep people out of the red zone. So if they're in the red zone, we need to be able to spot that better. We need people to be able to tell their friends, help their friends find counseling when they need it. And then we want to keep them out. So we want to get people out of the red zone if they're in it, and we want to keep them out if they're not there. And so there was this book called The Power of Habit. And this is just an excellent book that I read earlier in the summer. It was probably actually in the spring. So I read this book, The Power of Habit, in the spring. And he talked about the training regimen of Michael Phelps. And I could immediately start to visualize Phelps being kind of like this pattern you see here, where he's mostly in that upper green and has built this habit that he only took like 20 minutes off in the example with this book, The Power of Habit. So out of his whole career, he had like 20 minutes off for like a middle school dance or a ninth grade dance. And otherwise, he was just locked in with swimming in the morning, swimming in the evening, and he really proactively built what I see here. Like what you all see here is this picture of him kind of hanging out between the upper green and the yellow, still in that normal range, because he wanted to push himself. He didn't want to be down here at the very bottom down here and just be a couch potato and kind of flatline and do nothing. The goal was to really push himself and challenge himself, and he eventually won 8 gold medals. And one of them he won with his goggles totally full of water, and he was blind. Could not see a thing. And they interviewed him afterwards, and they said, well, how did you do that? And he said, well, I practiced for it. So all throughout his life, he was doing this process of pushing himself and being super healthy, creating a super healthy routine that was protective against the red zone because it locked him in on that green zone pattern. All right, so let's see. I don't have anybody else wanting to volunteer. That's fine. But that's just another example of what it might look like if you're looking at what would it visually look like if you're trying to have that discussion of what a healthy routine looks like. Let me erase the drawings. And I'm going to do another one like helicopter parenting. So go ahead and place in the chat box where you think a helicopter parent, not where the helicopter parent is. Where do you think the student is when helicopter parenting is inappropriate? So let me see, like we can go like lower, middle, or upper level of any three of those colors. So you think lower, middle, upper of green, yellow, or red. When parents are helicoptering, where do you think that student is? So, okay, we got one yellow here. So one vote for yellow, one vote for upper yellow. Okay, so follow-up question. How did that student get to yellow and upper level of yellow? Was it, what came first, the parent or the stress? So did the parent cause it to be upper yellow and yellow, or is that just where the student was and so the parent's helicoptering? So that's the follow-up question. Constant hovering of parent. All right, so let's say we got the constant hovering of parent going on here, and let's say the student's actually here. The student might be there for a while, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, and be okay at that level with the hovering parent, and they're used to it, but eventually that's going to be, over time, pushing that stress up. So there we're in the yellow, and then we're into the upper yellow, and really nothing in the student's regular world is causing that stress other than the hovering parent. So if you have a student in the green and the student's reporting in the green and the worry is pushing it up, then the problem kind of resides basically with the parent. So if you're looking at kind of like the regular everyday discussions outside of, hey, this is, you know, crisis level, we're worried about somebody getting, you know, doing harm to self or harm to others, these conversations around building healthy habits, you now have this structure to kind of draw up that picture like we did with the Michael Phelps example. If you look at helicopter parenting, and I'll go ahead and erase all these drawings, and you know, and students says, okay, let's have a discussion about what's going on here with the constant hovering and the anxiety that you have. Your son's reporting here or your daughter's reporting here. What do you think your constant hovering is going to do? Isn't that going to be pushing this stress higher and higher and higher? You know, this is what we want to avoid. We don't want this happening. And we don't want to be causing it and just have like this generalized anxiety all the time that many parents have, that constant worry. I do have Lily back with me now, and Lily, we can't see her because we don't have the screen, and we're actually going to do a drawing example with Lily since we didn't get some other volunteers. So we got this cleared out. Lily, why don't you say hi again?
Hi.
So Lily's 12, and Lily, can you tell me basically what's the first thing we do? Like, what is this chart used for?
To like see how people feel on the inside.
Right, and then once you see how they feel and what that level is, then what?
Then you can like do self-help or get someone else's help, or yeah.
Perfect. All right, so yeah, Lily obviously is someone who's been trained a little bit, whether she likes it or not. But you know, right now we're going to see kind of what the last week or so has been like. So Lily, let's take a look at where you're at based now. Where would you place yourself right now? Green zone, yellow zone, red zone. Where would you place yourself now?
Green zone.
Green zone. Okay. Upper, middle.
Middle.
Okay. Put you right here. All right. So the reason why I'm putting this mark over here is that Lily, we want to go back in time. So we go back maybe earlier in the week. So Lily, today's Sunday. We're actually in a new week. Where were you maybe at the end of last week? At the high point.
Yellow zone.
Yellow zone, middle or upper?
Middle.
Middle, okay. So like we want this to be kind of defined again based off of what needs to happen in terms of the source of support or where that stress level is. So, you know, I've definitely told Lily that the red zone is kind of reserved for that crisis level, but the yellow zone is where it starts to get to be too much for yourself to handle. And, you know, we definitely had some of that going on this week, right, Lily? She's nodding. That doesn't work for a webinar, but that's all right. So Lily's nodding. So it was higher here, and then it came down again. And then prior to that, before things got high, where were you? or like a week ago?
I don't know. Yellow sound.
Middle or low?
Low.
Okay, so maybe back here. Okay, so for a little while, Lily was up there in the yellow, and she's come back down. I just pulled her from the couch watching TV. So she and I had some talks in the last couple days, and so she's just working with the family and friends level of help. And I don't really consider, even if a parent is a school counselor, that might not be the best source if actual professional help is needed. But there's an example. So I'm just talking through, Lily, like where were you today? Where are you today? Where were you recently? And then we can kind of have a discussion. If she wasn't in the green right now, was still yellow, then then I would know, okay, it's time for maybe a follow-up. We didn't really cover and get through that issue. And that's a quick example of how to use something live right here on the spot. So thank you again, Lily. Say goodbye to everybody.
Bye.
All right, we're going to flip down here to the bottom, past the case studies to the testing now. So I have Dr. Carlson here. Dr. Carlson's a professor at Colorado State University, and she's agreed to help me create the process of making SOS better and making it official. It might not be that it's better, but when you're looking at creating this squad goal number 1 for the school counselor squad, the idea here is to, sometimes you don't have an evidence-based tool because it hasn't been tested yet. So the key word for somebody who wants to be an innovator is yet. So this idea between Dr. Carlson and I is we would like to have the people who are part of this cohort through the school year, or at least the beginning part of the school year, do some work to beta test SOS. And I'm here to do another couple trains. We're going to talk about the ATC, which stands for Air Traffic Control. So we're going to come to that in a minute, so be sure to stick around for the ATC description. But this first squad goal is about making, creating a way to validate that this tool is effective and make the changes that are necessary. So this lean startup movement is created by Eric Ries, and the idea is that if you're going to create innovations, you should have innovation accounting. So you should be able to account for your innovations and things that you're making. And one of the things he says within this lean startup idea is everything that you're doing should be with this thought in mind that you're going to benefit those that you're creating your new programs or ideas for. So these ideas that I'm creating are for parents and school counselors, and also for teenagers. And I've actually created some of these charts for somebody who does a weight loss program. I saw, you saw this college student example right here. And then I've also talked to a fire department chief and a medical doctor. So really SOS can kind of have a lot of applications. Our purpose is it's just trying to make life easier as a school counselor. So there's two things I see that school counselors need, and that all revolves around effectiveness. So we want to be effective, but we've got to be quickly effective at times. We really got to be able to cut right to the chase. And when we look at maybe the charts at that red zone, one of the big questions that gives me a ton of context in a hurry is to just simply ask, well, how long have you been in the red zone? And that would give me like record-breaking time frames from a month to 3 months to 6 months to a year. And the record was broken from a year all the way to 10 years. So you're able to get this quick read using a common language, and it's not just willy-nilly, as we described with the upside on Likert scale. Anywhere from 0.5 up to 7 meant nothing, because it could mean the same thing from student to student. So with the testing, I've already had a lot of iterations. I've already had a lot of changes. So with the testing, we're looking to just make this a better and better tool for school counselors and the students you serve, because it's a relief to get that reading at the very end where you see the you see that lower reading. Or if you don't get a lower reading, then that tells you something about, well, how frequently should I follow up? Maybe I should be making a parent phone call right away, or maybe this is going to be a full-blown psych eval. So it really allowed me to triage when we were having really hard times and seeing lots of students, and it was a powerful tool for that reason. So we're going to be looking at Dr. Carlson for support there with this process of testing. Okay, so as we weave into that next round, so solving our stress basically is a visual structure for the invisible inner world. And we do need to see it, as you saw me close my eyes and drop the ball, or Lily threw it over my head. It doesn't work out if you can't see. You've got to be able to see inside, and that's one of the real keys here. And the why is so school counselors can quickly and effectively assess and address any and every student concern. The very bottom of the chart literally is just like sitting on the couch doing absolutely nothing, and the very, very top of the chart, you know, you just can't go off the charts. The very top of the chart is the top level of stress that can be handled in life and still be here, basically. So it covers that full spectrum, and at each level, just like a traffic light, if you didn't understand English and you were here in America, you'd understand that green means go, yellow means slow down, and red means stop if you're driving around in traffic. And the same thing here. Green means I can handle it. That yellow line is defined by this is too much for me to handle by myself. That red line is defined by I can't help it, you know, I can't find the help I need just through my own coping skills plus the average everyday people in my life. The red really means it's gotten beyond that. So these levels really are defined by the type of help that's needed and that crossover. All right, so another wise, to help students see inside and learn what to do as well. So this can be taught to students. As you can see, you know, with Lily, this is just a simple process of you explain this traffic light system, you explain that they can fill in the left-hand side of the chart as well. If you've got the time to do that, this presentation can be done to parents as well so that they can learn how to see the signs in their kids and try and determine those levels. And if there's a mismatch, okay, so there's a mismatch, then that just creates a great way to have a visual start that discussion. Why is the parent way up high while the student's down low? Okay, there's button pushing. Or if the student's in the green, where's, you know, let's deal with that anxiety on the parent side. All right, and then the how is this is basically a see and act system. You see the level, and that dictates the action that's appropriate for that level. And when you create patterns over time, you get to act based off of that visual. And so what if we have SOS? We've got tangible feedback for the school counselor and student that can be seen with your own two eyes. And what if you don't have it? Then we pretty much just hope that we don't have that scenario where, you know, the student had, I'll go sliding back up to that. If we just rely on hope, we're hoping that we don't have, you know, the student come see us, and then the second time they come see us and it's worse, and a third time they either come see us or they don't. If that's the situation that's happening and then we never use the chart, we maybe just keep assuming that good is being done, that help is happening when it's not there or it's not working. So this is powerful both in the scenario where you actually get that visual difference like we have on number 4, and it's also powerful where you're like, wow, I didn't have time to even bring this up last time, or I didn't even think I needed to use it. But you know, in this scenario, I decided to use it because I wondered why that student was coming in so frequently. All right, so let's see. There's one other thing here. All right, so I want to talk about session 2 and session 3. When you guys come back next week, and maybe we can have this discussion in the School Counselor Squad chat this week, is it may be too early. You know, not everybody's showing up here, not everybody's jumping on that Facebook page. We'd definitely love to get some more people on here. But session 2 is about air traffic control and the snitch switch. So what air traffic control is imagine if your school culture has the entire student body and staff trained with SOS, and we're all speaking the same language, and we're all, you know, not looking like everybody's a hovering helicopter parent, but more like the air traffic controller. We don't want people smashing into each other. We don't want people risking, you know, running into the red zone unnoticed and undetected. So if we have everybody out there learning how to detect the red zone, we're going to talk a little bit more about how you train students and how to use this idea of a snitch switch. So when I got students circled up and I asked boys why they don't get the help they need or they don't turn to somebody to get help for their friend, they said that they felt like that would be snitching. And so we have these inflection points in life. So in The Power of Habit, the author talks about, and his name's escaping me right now, but there's like a crossroads or a fork in the road. And the fork in the road is a kid gets this bad gut level feeling, but they feel like they're going to be a snitch if they say anything. So over and over and over, they just get that bad gut level feeling like something bad's going to happen, and then they just don't do something on behalf of their best friend. And as we all know, that can result in complete disaster. So we'll talk about the snitch switch next time and what that's all about, and also this concept of air traffic control. If you train an entire school, and maybe solving our stress can become, you know, one of those key centerpieces of a school's school culture. Then the third session is about implementation. So how do you actually get this into the schools and start beta testing it? And beyond that, we'll have webinars set up to be just like chart chats. As you guys start to create real charts and you wonder, hey, is this, you know, the way it makes sense to use it? It wouldn't just be me. It would be all of us really in there to give that feedback. And what I envision is you can send me, you know, as you start to use a chart. I printed up and laminated a pretty huge one, so I'll show that in a minute. But as you get your examples, this was just a picture I took with my phone of my whiteboard, and then I put that into Evernote. So these could be real charts that we'll be using in the future for the sessions that we do as we look to beta test it. So real life examples from you is what the bonus chart chats are all about. And this actually came from a friend of mine who used to do the stock market charting. And every week he would run a session where he'd have people look at Apple Computer and every stock under the sun that they want him to look at. And he would just run through and go through the charts, and that was a pretty cool deal. He was just able to teach everybody how to see and read stock charts. And in the same way, within this beta testing, we'll be going over your real charts, and I'll bring up examples as well as we do that into the school year. Okay, yeah, and Dr. Carlson's asking if we need more volunteers for the beta testing, and you know, I was really envisioning we could have probably triple, 3 or 4 times as many people are in on this cohort. I think it's nice and intimate, so as we do this, you know, and you're sharing your charts throughout the beginning of the school year, we're definitely going to be able to go over, we'll definitely be able to go over people's examples, and that I think is where we'll get like that next evolution of the learning after we talk about the air traffic control idea next week and this idea of a snitch switch. So what do we switch from? If we're going to snitch from switch or switch from snitch, so we'll talk about that, and the implementation. Okay, so yeah, there's a couple people talking about having counselors from their own network. This is something I envision in the distance will be school trainings, and as I do these school trainings in the future, as I do version 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, I want to definitely let everybody know here that's jumping in to be a pioneer at this level right now. If I do version 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the future, I'm just going to have people be able to follow this whole evolution and be a part of it with no charge. So definitely let people know if you want to have them join you on this journey and be able to have the availability to this training as it keeps evolving throughout the foreseeable future. All right, that's all I got for today. Thank you guys for checking in. It's about an hour here. All right, have a great day.